Wrath of the Lich King. You want a one-handed shield macro with stop casting in it, because heroic strike and cleave. If you have these queued up, you can't change weapons, so you need that in there. And then the same thing for the two-hander. For the two-hander, whatever two-hander you got, stop casting in it. That's it. This is my retail macro. I only have it as a macro because you can only use it in battle stance. So basically what this does is if you're in D stance or berserker stance, it'll swap you to battle stance. There's no targeting arena and focusing in arena keybinds for some reason. Like, show you. On retail WoW, they are like somewhere around here. And they don't have them on classic for some reason. So you gotta have macros for it. So focus arena 1, focus arena 2, focus arena 3, then target arena 1, target arena 2, target arena 3. These are more important than these, but you want both. So with shield block, you want to macro whatever sword and shield you have to it, because you can't use this without a shield. So the fastest way to swap and do this is for any ability that requires a shield. You want to macro this in it. So stop casting, because remember the heroic strike and cleave thing I said? And then cancel or a blade storm, because you'll be spinning. It's gonna take me a second to do that actually, but you'll be spinning, and like this will cancel it and do it fast. You're usually using that when you're trying to survive, so you want to be able to use it fast. That's some engineering thing, ignore that. So you want a macro for Berserker Rage, and I guarantee you like none of the guides out here talk about this. You cannot cast Berserker Rage while this is active. This is your heal, you get at level 80. This does nothing now, but when you're 80, this will help you a lot. So what'll happen is you'll use your enraged regeneration and you'll get feared. A really good warlock will do this on purpose, but you won't see anyone doing this for a long time probably. But back on like the private servers like 10 years ago, people would do. So you use this to cancel and enraged regeneration so you can get out of a fear. Anyway, you also want stop casting on you want stop casting on your weapons for heroic strike and cleave, because you can't switch weapons while heroic strike and cleave are queued. You also want stop casting on your stances, because let's say when would you use a heroic strike? When you have like 100 rage or something, 80 rage, something like that, cleave, whatever. So let's say I have a heroic strike queued up and I have 90 rage. That's smart. But let's say it's a mage and he blinks, and then I go Berserker stance and I go to intercept him, right? If you do that, the heroic strike will still be queued, and you'll go down to, so go Berserker stance, you go down to 25 rage, because that's all tactical mastery lets you take. You do the intercept, then you're down to 15 rage. That's all you have for this heroic strike. Then you're at 0 rage, because you had a heroic strike still queued up when you don't want to use it anymore. So this will turn heroic strike and cleave off when you swap stances, because you won't want to use those when you swap stances. I'm actually not sure if you need this anymore for Bladestorm, but how this used to work was if you put like /start attack / cast auto attack in the Bladestorm macro, it would do white swings while you Bladestorm. In Real Wrath, you needed this, or you wouldn't do white swings while you Bladestorm. It would do way more damage that way. I still have it in here. It doesn't hurt anything. Start attack's good to have in anything that's an attack, honestly, in Wrath. But I'm not actually sure if that helps you anymore. Stop casting. This is for like Shattering Throw, I guess. You really don't need that in there though. For Bladestorm, I guess just this part really. You know what? Okay, take it out. But if you're an orc, you can macro in your orc racial. Unused trinkets that do damage, like this thing's an attack power trinket. So macro that in there. That's decent to do. This is the same thing as this one. Stop casting. You don't want to macro a two-hander with your stances. Don't ever do that. Because let's say I'm in D stance, I shield wall, and then I want to charge. I got to go battle. If you macro the weapon, shield wall is gone. And then same thing with block, it's gone. And then reflect, same thing, it's gone. That's why you don't macro the two-hander to anything besides just the macro with stop casting in it. Anyway, so D stance, you'll see soon D stance will have the same thing. This is just the same thing you do for all your attacks. You make a macro for it, and you put /start attack. to make sure your swing is on. What you want to do this for is, let's say a mage polymorphs you or something, your auto attack will get turned off. On retail, I think this is built into the game, but on classic it's not. So for some reason they made it that way on classic again anyway. So you need this to make sure your auto attack's on, and you can put it in all your attacks, honestly. But really, you only need it you can just put it in Mortal Strike or something. You want your charge to have cancel or a blade storm in it, so that way, let's say you're blade storming and then someone gets away from you because that's what they're gonna do. You got that. You don't really need this. And by the way, all my macros are gonna be in a link below this video, and of course below my stream and Discord and all the other places. This is one for, actually I was trying something out with this, so you can use either or, honestly. Doesn't make a big difference. This is for Prot, so I'll just skip over it, honestly. But well, no, I mean, I'm already here, I might as well. So you stun someone and then you can, mod shift, focus, focus stun someone. That's good for Prot. So this is pretty advanced, most people won't have this. This last line, you don't need this. I use this for something else, but you do want this. So let's say you're fighting a mage, you get bopped by your pally, they'll try to steal it. So you take it off so he can't steal it. It's the same thing with freedom as well. This I use more on retail than I use on classic, but let's say someone's polymorph. Let's say you're on someone, you got sweeping strikes up, and then someone next to them gets CC'd. Your sweeping strikes will break them out if it hits them, so you turn sweeping strikes off. And blade storm, of course, and then recklessness, because recklessness makes you take 20% more damage. If you get hit with rec up, you're gonna die. You can't be getting hit with rec up at all. Doesn't matter what you're fighting, it's terrible. So a lot of the time, if I use rec, I'll cancel it if I don't take it off very fast. And so this macro just does them all together, because I mean, imagine if you had 1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine if you had 5 different cancel keybinds. That's way too much. Pretty much never will you cancel another one of these when using one of these. You may get sweeping strikes, but rare. The same thing, like I said about Bloodthirst, start attack. It's just, look at it. Same thing with all of your attacks. And this is just like the shield block one, except for wall. And look at these, they're the same exact thing. Actually, this one doesn't have stop casting, but I think it does. No. My other warrior does. We'll put stop casting in there, and it's good to go. Same thing, start attack for Prot. Just basically, if an ability requires a stance, you want a macro that switches you to that stance. So that's all it does. And see, there's no one hand and shield in the D stance macro, because sometimes you'll just want to be in D stance for the damage reduction, but you won't want to swap weapons. And then this is something you don't really need, but this will use mage food if I got it, and it'll use the other stuff I have if I don't have it. I mean, that's not really needed for PvP. Execute can only be used in battle and berserker stance, I think. So what this does is if I'm in stance 2, which is defensive stance, it'll swap me to battle. That's the same thing, but with I'm not going to go over this because you guys don't need that. I'm not going to go over that either. Don't need that. So this is the retail macro, except for rec. You can't use rec in any stance but berserker, so it'll swap you to berserker and do it. And this is that food macro, except for first aid. It uses the best bandages you got and works down until it finds one. Free action potion. That's some classic shit I don't need anymore. Focus charge. I actually use that with this one now, so I don't need this one anymore. If you hit somebody, this might be built into the game by default now, but I don't think it is. So you fear someone. If you hit them after that, it's just going to break them out of the fear. So it turns off your attacks, turns off your heroic strike, whatever. And then cancel or blade storm, so you can do it if for some reason you wanted to do that, which I'm sure I do that maybe once a week. That'll help me. And this is just the focus fear. And then this has the mouse over thing. I'm not going to really go over that either. Some of these macros are going to have mouse over things that actually this one doesn't have This one doesn't have mouse over in it, but just use that, and that's that. This is just intercept for focus. You know, target equals focus, swaps you to Zerker's Dance. If you're prot, you need to take this out, because as prot, you don't need to switch stances to charge, intercept, intervene, whatever. So that's some fishing map. That's from Classic. Wow, I don't need that anymore. I should have went through and deleted the ones that I don't use anymore. All right, so this is probably the best macro of all. What this is going to do is, this is actually for focus. It does it. So, I mean, look at that, 248 characters. Like, good luck making that on your own. I mean, I don't even know how to make this. Like, I got this years ago. So we're gonna go to the regular kick, and then I'll come back to that because they're the same thing, except for that's for prot. Where's the one I'm looking for? This one. So this is the kick macro you want. If you're gonna swap weapons, you know, so stop casting's in it. I guess you could be casting a shattering throw as well. Oh, hey, thank you for the subs. I'm doing a guide right now. Oh, thank you, bro. Anyway, so it's gonna use. I think it's gonna spam. Hey, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Anyway, if you're in battle or defensive, it's gonna swap you to a sword and shield and do a shield bash, because most times shield bash is gonna be better than a pummel. Man, that's gonna be all in the video. Anyway, I mean, the video's scuffed anyway because, you know, like, I'm just doing it in one take. You know, no fancy overlays and thumbnails and all that. So shield bash is usually the one you're going to want to use, but pummel is good sometimes too. I'll go over that in a different video. This is just about macros. So if you're in battle or defensive, it's going to swap you to a sword and shield, and it's going to shield bash. If you're in Zerker though, this is the same. This is it right there. It's not going to do that. It's going to pummel. So, because you're already in Zerker, so I mean, it's easy to do it. And then that's going to be the same thing. Not that one. This one, but for focus. See, target equals focus. Anyway, this is focus mouse over. Thank you for the stub, bro. Appreciate it. I don't know how to pronounce it, bro. Let's see. The TLMO. I thought it was the Timo, but thank you, bro. Anyway, focus mouse over. You know, a lot of people don't use these. These are definitely good, but, you know, I know a lot of people aren't trying to use 6 keybinds in Arena for targeting. So I would use these 3, and then I would use this for, you know, like, focus mouse over. Just use this. Basically, all you do is, like, look at that. You know, focus that, focus me. It works on anything. Just a good way to get a focus target up. I don't know what this does, so we'll delete that. This is like the first aid and the food thing, except for health stones. And, you know, you'll need a better one in Wrath for whatever the good health stone in Wrath is called. I only have this as a macro because this is a talent that's on a hidden bar. And basically, like, I'll respec and I'll lose Piercing How. And I won't want to, like, you know, escape, interface, action bars, and go put it back on there. You don't need that one either. Same thing as this one and this one, except for potions. Just start attack. All the attacks are basically just going to have this in it. You can't use a hamstring in D stance, so it'll switch you to battle stance instead of Zerker stance. Generally, you want to be in battle stance more. I have 3 of these, so let me figure out which one it even is. It's this one. So, like, this is basically the charge macro except for intercept. You know, you got to be in Zerker stance to use it as arms. So, got Berserker stance in it. Cancel or a Blade Storm. Ignore this mouse over part. You just need slash cast intercept for you. You could use this one. I think I made this one so I could give people one without that mouse over. Don't need that. And we already went over the kick macros. As a PvPer, you're really not going to use this. There's technically some uses for it, but you're never really going to. Don't even bother with that. And again, you know, slash cast, mortal strike, slash start attack. That's it. That's some nitro shit for classic WoW. Don't need that anymore. Some of these macros are from like 3 years ago when I played vanilla, and I didn't play it that long, and just, you know, I haven't been on this character that much since then. So basically, the thing with all these macros is if it requires a stance or requires a certain like a shield, it'll swap you to that. That's basically all they all do. So, you know, requires battle stance. So if you're in D stance 2 or berserker stance 3, you go battle, it does the overpower. You don't need this bar. That's a thing. Same thing with the rend. That's like an on-use rage potion thing. Don't need that. Revenge, just like overpower, except for defensive stance instead of, you know, battle stance. Don't need that either. Spell reflect, just like the wall and block macro. Thank you, Garad. Appreciate it, bro. Just like those. It swaps your weapon, stops casting, which would prevent heroic strike, you know, from allowing you to swap weapons. Cancel blade storm, so you can do a reflect. It's just this is the fastest way to do a reflect. That's a perfect macro. You can't do a sweeping strikes in defensive stance, I think, so this will swap you battle or berserker to do it. Not important, but it helps. Can't shield slam without a shield, of course, so this will swap you to a sword and shield and do a shield slam. This is if I wanted to turn heroic strike and cleave off on its own without one of those other things. Thunder armor, just start attacking it. Don't really need that, but it helps. Classic WoW macro, I don't need anymore. So what this does is this is for any trinket I have here, and this is for any trinket I have there. So basically, instead of like doing that to drag to your bars, you know, I can do that, and I never have to drag anything to my bars. Like, see, look at that. Swaps out, swaps back. This is a mouse over taunt. So like, let's say you're in an arena. There's like a pet right there. Let's say you're getting, let's say there's a pet right there. Let's say you're getting polymorphed or trapped or something. You can mouse over taunt the pet. It'll hit you. It'll break you out of the CC. The way to break CC, it's really good, and like no one does it. Berserker stance, I don't think you can use in I don't think you can use Thunderclap and Berserker, so it'll swap you to battle. This is like an all-in-one throwing weapon, like throwing knife, you know, just the same thing. Bow, gun, crossbow kind of thing. Whichever one you have equipped, it'll whatever one you. I have 4 different intervene. Actually, I have more. I have 6, but you don't need 6 because like it's different. Because as prot, remember what I said about the stances? You don't need to switch stances as prot for charge, intervene, and intercept. So I have macros that do that as arms, and then they don't have the stances as prot. I got one for mouse over. This is for like BGs, whatever. You know, I see some guy, I intervene him. And that's the same one except for prot. This one is for usually my healers. I just made this, so I just put him in there 5 times. Basically, you're gonna put like whoever you got. You know, you're gonna put them in all these macros. Whatever healer you play with, you're gonna put in all these macros. And then you're gonna make one for your DPS and 3s. And basically, I got a mouse over keybind for general intervene. This one's for my healers or whoever I'm playing with in 2s. And this is my 3rd one for DP. Can't use a victory rush in D stance, so it swaps you battle and does it. You don't really need this, but sometimes it'll be raining in WoW and it'll be like super, you know, like you'll actually not see very well in it. So you use that and it just kind of makes the rain go down. Swaps you berserker to do a whirlwind because you gotta be in berserker to do a whirlwind. And those macros you just saw there are basically the same ones I already showed you, but there's a reason I gotta have different ones for that. It doesn't matter for you though. I showed you these already. I showed you all the ones you need to see. That's it right there. That's all the macros you need.